Hi, I'm Kevin,
And I'm Amanda.
and we are serving up
All that jam.
All That Jam, Quick Hit. Kris Yunker working as a sideman.
When you mentioned the horns, it reminded me there's a bunch of conversations we had with horn players over the last year or two. Brian was one of them, Alex Wasili from Dumpsta Funk. And they all had a very similar take. And it was so fascinating to me just from their perspective of, the horn people, they get their music and then it's kind of like you might get a couple minutes to rehearse, you might not,
Yeah.
just because of the nature of what they do often, they're kind of straddling a bunch of different bands or projects at any given time. So I always think about that and how it seemed like they're kind of just accustomed to kind of hopping on and just doing what they do, right? Which is amazing. But it almost feels like a similar thing. And for them, they both said completely independently that that's what keeps them in the game because
Huh.
it's always a little bit different, and the energy of kind of moving from one project to another regularly is what they really enjoy. So I feel like you're uh, kind of taking that and bringing it to maybe players or others that wouldn't necessarily do that. So I think that's super cool.
Yeah, it really keeps the mind sharp. Having to, so I do a lot of those pickup gigs too, where I just get the list of songs, and just by the nature of like my schedule, I don't really get to like sit with the songs at the keyboard until like the day before usually. Um, Unless it's like something that's really extremely challenging and I know that I need to spend some time with it, so I'll carve out time with that. But for the most part, it's just me like kind of like listening to playlists and then over a week or something, and then just like spending a little bit of time. So it's like I'm always like going from these gigs to gigs and like learning new songs, and it's sometimes a little nerve-wracking, but always ends up being a great challenge for me musically, and I love it. Helps me
Is
grow.
there, like, in terms of, I guess schedule probably is a huge part of it, but is there anything that you really look for when you get approached by someone to either do some recording or, play some shows? Is there something in particular that would make you more likely to say yes to that experience?
Well, aside from the monetary thing, which I'll just like get out of the way first, because that's just,
You got
you
to
know,
do it. It's realistic
it's yeah,
for sure.
yeah. I would love to just like not have to worry about all that, but that's the society that we live in, and we got to make sure to like keep that rolling. But as aside from that, it's really just if I connect with it
Mhm.
musically, and if it speaks to me, um and it's not like anything personal if it doesn't. It's just if it doesn't, um it has to be a very large paying gig. I guess if it doesn't really speak to me that musically. But there's not a lot of stuff that doesn't speak to me. So that's yeah. Yeah, Sugar Business, that was one of those. Is like I got the tunes. I'm like, this is super cool and like different.
Mhm.
Um, that gets me really excited if it's like something I haven't really heard before.
Yeah.
It's nice to be
Um,
a part of something like that.
Yeah, definitely. So we talked a little bit about the 7th. Is there anything else coming up that you'd want to make sure that you talk about, either shows, recordings, or anything that you've kind of got on tap for the new year?
Yeah, I've got a pre New Year's Eve show, the day before New Year's Eve with a bunch of the Westend Blend crew, at New Park Brewing in um, West Hartford. And they just opened up a new part of that. They've had like a side. stage on the floor next to their brewery bar, but they just opened up like a nice new venue in the back that has a really great stage. I'm excited to see it. I haven't been there. I really haven't been there since the pandemic, so that'll be cool.
And for
That's
people who don't know them, Westend Blend, I know their soul, their funk. Can you maybe talk a little bit about their sound?
yeah, it's just like a big band kind of sound. They've got horns and two guitarists, keyboards, and their front singer Erica is just super soulful, amazing singer, and yeah, it's just like funk, soul, groove music. Kind of like in the same. I would group them bands. I would group them with would be like um, Orgone and Motet kind of thing. Yeah.
Awesome. And when's that going to be?
That's New Year's Eve. So
New Year's.
30th. That would be the 30th. Saturday. This Saturday. Well, it'll probably have already happened by the time this comes out. Now that I think about it.
I can't even, I'm looking at my calendar on my computer and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like, yeah, it's going to be here any day.
Yeah.
Further into the year, anything that you've got on tap or that you're working on?
Yeah, just a lot of Barely Dead shows coming up. I think one of the ones we're all really excited about is Skull and Roses. The festival, Melvin Seals Festival down in Ventura, California. That's like the weekend of April 20th, 420. That's probably the most exciting thing I can think about as to date on the calendar coming up. I'm going to be getting together with some people to like come up with some new material over January, so I'm excited to hear what comes of that. Some of the horn players that I've been playing with. But yeah, this next year I have plans to get into the studio and do some more recording for myself and with other people as well.
Awesome. We'll definitely keep track of that. So Skull and Roses, I always find that particular festival to be super interesting. We had talked with Jeff from Dark Star about, well, a lot of things, but about that festival and how incredible it is that you could have, several days worth of bands that are really focused, right, in one specific area, but from so many different angles, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of an interesting thing if you were going to try to explain that concept to people who either are not familiar or that's just not their scene. That would be something almost impossible to comprehend that you could do that.
It still is impossible for me to comprehend. Actually, I'm kind of amazed by it. I first heard about it from playing with Garcia Project, and I was like, "Wow, that's impressive." That like, and it makes sense because I know the people that are diehard fans of that music, so I get it. But yeah, it's super interesting. We got there's a list that they send you of the breakdown of how many times each of the songs was played over the last few years. So you can see like what's been hit heavy and what hasn't been hit heavy and what hasn't been hit at all. So they're very organized with it. But yeah.
So are they, just out of curiosity, are they sending that out to help like you all as artists make some decisions about what you might want to play, or is it more just simply to say like, hey, this is how it was? Like, are they
I think it's to help make good decisions. Like,
yeah.
All right, like let's like think about like what's being played at this festival since we're all playing the same music, and maybe there's like who wants to tackle this song that hasn't ever been played at this festival if you want to.
I would love to see that. And I'm only thinking of that. Well, number one, I love spreadsheets and data of any kind.
Nice.
And I love that kind of stuff. Jeff had mentioned that DSO keeps, which I guess is not surprising, incredibly detailed lists of everything they've ever done. Of course, they don't want to repeat, in a particular market or something like that. But the way he talked about it was like, it's very, very specific, and it has to be in order for them to make their best art. So I guess it's a similar thing. You know, there was that
Fairly
one.
Dead does that as well. They have their own spreadsheet thing happening.
Yeah. I just think that's something that, you know, you wouldn't necessarily, as a fan, kind of imagine how helpful that could be. But like as time goes on and I talk to more people and I keep hearing that, it really makes a lot of sense to me, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got to get better about that whole spreadsheet thing. I'm terrible with it. I should get excited about it.
Yeah, I've been working on a database of our episodes because we have so many now, and going through and just trying to keep that updated. Well, keeping it updated implies that it's complete at some point, and it never is. But yeah, for sure. And I know last year there was a Phil and Friends run, and then I don't know, Weir was doing some stuff, all kind of overlapping dates, and I did start a little spreadsheet to see what songs they were playing in common, and it was interesting. There were a bunch,
cool.
you know. Yeah, so so I'll have to keep that in mind for Skull and Roses because that could definitely be a good one to pay attention to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, in terms of finding information about what you're up to and supporting you, where are the best places for people to go?
Of course, all the social stuff, I keep that up to date, and my website, krisyunker.com, are probably the best ways to do that.
Are you on Bandcamp? I can't remember.
I am on Bandcamp, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. All
yeah,
right,
the other thing I forgot to mention is an album I recorded with Joe Marcinick and Alan Evans and Nate Egger is finally coming out sometime in January or February. Really cool album, and it's got the BT-ALC horns on it as well for a few of the songs that they recorded separately. But I'm super excited for that one to come out. I love how it turned out.
And what's that called?
I don't know if he has a name for the album, but it's just Joe Marcinick Band.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll have to look into that because I'm actually going to be setting up some time. I emailed Alan too, and we're going to find some time to catch up. So definitely we'll mention that. Cool. Well, Kris, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And excited for everything that you've got going on.
Thanks. Yeah. Thanks for getting together and having this. It's nice to stay up to date.
Absolutely. If you are enjoying All That Jam, please like and subscribe to our social media channels at All That Jam Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or visit our website, allthatjampod.com. Make sure to sign up for our email list and tune in every week for new episodes.
Also, look for full interviews on our YouTube channel. And remember, stay beautiful, but don't stay underground too long.